Now, Fox and Friends continues to fear Monger about the migrant caravan that is slowly making its way across Mexico. Now, host Brian Kilmeade warned viewers on Monday, saying that the country can't have, quote, entire populations of refugees seeking asylum come in and bring disease into this country. I'm going to show you that video, so take a look, guys.
What about diseases? I mean, there's a reason why you can't bring a kid to school unless he's inoculated. You know, there's things that happen in this country. We already give 40 to 50% of our taxable income to the government for social programs. Is it too much to say that we just can't have countries, entire populations come in here without being looked at as hard-hearted? To me, it's a practical way of having a nation that everyone looks up to and wants to be a part of. That's part of the reason why America's America. There's a process.
Yeah, there is a process. It's called asylum. Asylum is legal, dipshit. Seriously. That is one thing that the right never seems to understand about these caravans, about these people coming in, is that the majority of these people are asylum seekers. They go to the nearest port in America, turn themselves in so that they can seek asylum, which is 100% legal. They're not undocumented immigrants sneaking across the border. There are people looking for asylum. They don't get it, man. But look, there is a lot of BS in that, so I'm going to break that down. So first off, he says, oh, entire populations of people are coming over. Look, the caravan itself is 4,000 people. That is not the entire population of a country. Now, maybe he's thinking and got confused of the eventual effects of climate change. Well, actually, that actually will, at its worst projections, cause entire populations of people to have to leave the area of which they live because it's no longer habitable. You can no longer grow food in those areas, right? And have to go to other areas. I mean, look, Brian Kilmeade is not exactly the rightest guy, so maybe he did get confused. But that's not what it means, right? But here's the thing, right? The question itself that he asked about being hard-hearted if he doesn't want entire populations of people coming in, it's a rhetorical trap. Because, again, I just pointed out why that's incredibly incorrect. No, the reason that these people are coming to America, by the way, is not because America's, like, inherently special. I mean, look, I think we're, like, 23rd or something in education, 27th or 30th in healthcare. We're not exactly doing fantastic, right? So it's not because we're special, right? And this is coming from somebody, look, I love my country. I'm a patriot, and I want this country to do better. That's why you can point out the faults and say, hey, you know what, America, we can actually do better. We can actually do these things that some of the other places in the world do that increase happiness of the citizens. But that's not what I'm saying, right? The reason that these people are coming to America is because they're fleeing from literal death and extreme poverty. And who knows, some of the people that might come into America might go through America and go to Canada. There is that possibility as well, or some actually might stay in Mexico as well. Because they've actually been, Mexicans have been far more welcoming to these Guatemalan, Honduran, and El Salvadoran refugees than a lot of Americans are, right? But anyway, as I said before, Republicans not in favor of this. In fact, Dan Bongino, who's a host of NRA TV, he basically comes on and he's going to have to double down on all the fear-mongering. Watch.
Brian, if this is allowed to continue, the caravan into the United States, then the border is meaningless. Now, and I mean that. I mean, what's the point of a border? If we can't stop individual narco traffickers and human trafficking across our border when they come in small groups, and we can't stop them in large groups, then I'm asking a reasonable question. What's the point of the border? Yeah. You can't stop small groups. You can't stop large groups. What's the point? And what's fascinating here is whenever it comes to the topic of illegal immigration, do you ever notice it's only discussed by the left in terms of its effect on the people crossing the border illegally. It's almost never discussed on the effect illegal immigration has on border towns, border communities, the taxpayers in the United States in general. It's like our concerns are ignored, and we're only supposed to pay attention to the concerns of the people in the caravan, which is entirely irrational.
I'm sorry, Dan. People aren't paying enough attention to your needs. Dan Bongino, I don't know if you know this. I think he's actually incredibly wealthy. Just saying. But look, the point that I bring that up is look, this point is based on fallacy, right? So he's talking about, we don't have a border because we're letting everybody in. Here's the thing: asylum seeking is 100% legal. But at the end there, again, you notice that he went into white supremacist talking points. He said our concerns are completely ignored. I mean, look, we're being completely ignored as the American people, our concerns, poverty, etc. Okay, well, here's the thing, right? Immigrants have actually helped the economy. They're actually good for a country. They actually commit less crime than native-born Americans. And I believe it was second-generation immigrants start more businesses than anyone else, than native-born. So, hey, they're entrepreneurs, and they're incredibly hard workers, and they contribute to the economy. And they don't get federal welfare benefits. Immigration is actually fairly good for the country. Now, you do want to have a process, going back to kill meat, of course. But right now, our process is incredibly messed up. Waiting lists in the tens of 20s of years, right? So there's a lot of issues with our immigration system. If only we could actually fix that. Oh, right. None of the parties in charge are really ever interested in fixing these issues. But again, that's a different conversation, right? But to address the point here, right, of, they just want to worry about illegal immigrants, which by the way, asylum seekers, not illegal. It's 100% legal to seek asylum. Conservatives don't want to do things that help regular Americans. So while they're bitching about, we're going to do everything for the illegals instead of helping our own people, conservatives are in charge. They could easily do programs that could help the American people. But they don't. Their whole economic plan is tax cuts for the rich, which means less government services for you. And of course, deregulation, which benefits corporations and hurts the environment. Hurts the environment in your area. That's your river they're dumping coal ash into. And that's your air that they're polluting, which leads to more, of course, health problems down the road. Increases in things like asthma and lung cancer from all those pollutants being released into the air. That's a Republican plan. They don't care about you. They don't care. But of course, they're saying, well, we need to cut these government services because they're being used by undocumented immigrants. Well, again, undocumented immigrants and asylum seekers don't get federal benefits. Now, there are some states out there, for example, California will give you a driver's license and might actually help with education and healthcare. But that's a state benefit. That's not the federal benefit. That's not the federal government giving that money. That is the people in California who've decided, hey, you know what? We're actually going to help these people be able to get, into, like, for example, pay some taxes and be able to get jobs and healthcare and things like that. That actually helps society. We're going to help with that. We've made that choice as a state. But the country has not made that choice. So overall, no, undocumented immigrants do not get federal welfare benefits. Now, again, this is the argument that if you can't help American citizens, then you shouldn't help people who are undocumented, right? Undocumented immigrants, and by extension, asylum seekers, right? Now, conservatives purposely don't help Americans so that immigrants are not welcome. So that they can say, well, look, we can't help these guys, but we can't help those guys. So we can't help anybody. When in reality, again, their policy proposals are geared towards not helping Americans, but actually helping wealthy Americans. And by the way, look, people are wrong if they're saying conservatives hate alt immigrants. That's not exactly true. They love wealthy immigrants, especially wealthy white immigrants. So let's be honest about that. Okay, anyway, that is the reality of the conservative position. And this is, again, Fox News propaganda that you're going to see. It's the type of propaganda that you're going to see all the way till Election Day, because guess what? It plays really, really well with an audience that is easily scared. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know how I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent progressive media.